In the last episode, I rolled over to Fort Worth to mount a new tire on the rear of the motorcycle, and after talking to the lady at Cycle Gear, she told me about the place that she rides every weekend, a little place called Possum Kingdom Lake. So I decided to roll west a couple of hours to see what was so special about this unique and interesting place. The young lady did warn me that there were not really that many interesting roads. It's just the place that she wound up riding with her friends on the weekends. And I thought that was legitimate. Not all the roads in Texas are interesting, and in fact they're quite boring, most of them. But you have hillsides that look like they go on forever. This reminds me of Montana and the big sky country where you just get around the corner and you just kind of lose your breath looking at the sky. It looks like it just goes on forever. And this is one of those places. Came over the hill and thought that it was a bottomless mountain that I was riding down. But there's quite a few spots like this around central Texas. This is close to what they consider hill country, and there's lots of great riding in Texas, so this is just not one of the best places. About an hour and a half west of Fort Worth, at a lake known as Possum Kingdom. I'm not playing with you, it's Possum Kingdom Lake. Here we are, and kind of looking for a camp spot, and I found this road. This looks pretty cool, but exit only, and no parking anytime, because I guess your car will get wet. Towaway zone. Yeah, maybe the lake's up, maybe the shoreline is sinking, I don't know. It's probably global warming. Good day to ride. Jeez, it's great. 75 mile an hour speed limits. Texas is freaking awesome. The one thing that I have learned over the years looking for that perfect spot is you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince. Princess. But yeah, it's just kind of part of the routine is you have to take a few turns down some dirt roads that don't pay off, and it's just part of the game. And that's what I consider the reason I'm so successful in finding all those spots. I kind of have a nose for it, but you can't develop a nose unless you fill up your nose with a lot of filth. But this was one of the spots, and this is even I rolled through here initially and said, no, this is pretty good, but it wasn't until I talked to the store owner and he told me about the showers that I was sure that this was the place that I was going to stay. I'm camping here tonight because it's free. Normally it's $10 a night, which is not. This is a great park. I would pay that. Water's right there. There's showers up the hill, but I'm not sure if the gate's open. They said the dude at the store said something about COVID. Speaking of the store, I went and got groceries because they had an awesome market. I mean, fresh meat, fresh veggies, fresh all kinds of stuff. And look what I chose to get. But this thing's the only way to load this bike down anymore. This is how I was carrying the beer and this stuff hanging off the back. Had to restrap everything. The only way to make this more overloaded is to add a 300-pound man to it. Insane. This is beautiful. Rain's coming, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get set up, at least get the groceries unloaded. We'll see what happens. And this is the part where a few of you are going to come unglued because I'm setting up a tent. Well, I've said it many times, most of the time that I go camping, unless I know exactly where I'm going, what region, what area, I know where I'm going to wind up spending the night. I usually carry a tent in addition to my hammock, so it's just one of those things where, okay, yeah, you caught me setting up a tent, but this turned out to be even better than I thought, because it gave me a lot of ideas and footage about why I don't like tents, even with this perfect groomed camping spot. Oh, it's about, golly, 4:30, and got my tent set up over here because I just decided I want to be on the ground tonight, and there's lots of trees out here that would be really nice, but just figured, how often do I get a nice little grassy spot like this and be able to stretch out and roll over? It's probably going to rain tomorrow. I may regret this, but I mean, I can always put up the hammock and the tarp, whatever I want to do. I can always do it. I may stay here for a couple of days, but right now I've had a couple beers and some snacks, and I'm just feeling a nap. And the tent's set up and ready to go, so I may just go crawl in there. Man, this is so nice. There's ducks. There's this cool crow making these weird calls and clacks and weird stuff. I got him on video. I'll put that in here too. The ducks, I'm surprised none of the ducks have come up to camp because they're all over the place. Birds, fish, and you can hear all that stuff now. There's a Air Force base close by. They've been flying the F-22s over here, which, it's the sound of freedom, but it kind of gets in the way of nature too. But man, it is beautiful. I think it's going to be a good night. So what turned out as a 3-day stay in what I call a zoo started out with this weird crow, but I had no idea how weird it was going to get until I started seeing the deer on the other side of the slough over there, walking in between people's houses, and people walking right by them. A lady taking out her trash, walking right by 2 or 3 deer, and they just kind of looked at her. And I started thinking, are these people feeding the deer? I mean, I've seen similar situations like Wyoming. Wyoming's probably one of the best examples, but some places in Colorado where call them yard deers. They just kind of walk into your yard and nobody cares, the deer especially. So I always assume that nobody's hunting these animals. The geese are not that abnormal. They're all over the place, and they walk all over the park, and you could see goose poop all over the place. But the weird thing was the deer. The deer coming into the park and waking up a couple of mornings with deer right next to the tent. And, not perfectly comfortable, but to get this close to deer where I'm from is very unusual. Wasn't that hard to spook the deer. You couldn't really walk up and pet them or touch them. But, this is 7,500 yards away. They could see me moving around. But I just thought it was really cool watching the deer, being this close to them, because it's very unusual for me in the South. People hunt them in their backyards. If they get close to their backyards, and usually that's only in the country. So it's just really interesting and unique to spend 3 days with all these animals that you don't really get to see that close up in the wild. And not just that, the ducks and the geese and the cranes and just everything swimming and walking by. It's just really interesting and unique. shortly after I set up my tent, I laid down in it, take a nap, and looked up and saw a couple of little holes in the rainfly. Lucky for me, and also lucky for me, the market that was about 1.5 miles away from the campsite had a tube of this magical rubber cement. It's basically, I'm pretty sure that's all it was, it's just rubber cement, but I had some extra material for the tent, the rainfly patch kit that I'd had probably since I bought the thing. So I just applied my little $2 rubber cement, which will come back to haunt me later, but it turned out pretty well. So I lost the audio on that last one, but this is the first application of a patch kit, and it's still not close to dry yet, so I'm gonna let it dry a little bit more, then I'm gonna zip 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 all the way around. Then hopefully I won't be leaking tonight, since there's 100% chance of rain. We'll see. You know, it's not a bad day, just a little gloomy, but it's cold and windy and soon to be wet. You know, the cold wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't windy, and it's about to be wet, which is going to make everything miserable. So I have some sticks for cooking. I think I'm probably going to change out of these boots, because I'll probably be crawling into the tent at some point, get out of the wind and the mist and whatever. So I'll probably get out of my boots here. I'm ready to. I've got my in and out rain gear. I just bought some little mittens, little gloves for the hands, because I'm going to be out in the weather. But hopefully that patch will hold. Hopefully it doesn't rain that much. It just looks like that crappy kind of rain, cold, wet mist that just mist forever. I'm not really excited about that. Wish it would just rain and get it over with. Day 3 at Possum Kingdom. Still rainy, windy, and cold. And sounds like I'm bitching, but man, I feel really lucky that I stumbled into this, because this is about as good as it gets. I don't think I'm thinking about the 100+ campgrounds I've stayed at, and very few of them had some kind of a shelter. Well, there was always some kind of a shelter, but is it something that you can camp under? And that's basically what I've been doing. So yeah, so I feel very fortunate, even though it sounds like I'm bitching. I'm very happy that I've got a relatively comfortable place to stay with hot showers and running water. Yeah, I'm actually going to try to get some work done. I need power outlets, and the only power outlets I have are at the restrooms and the showers, so it may look a little bit weird if anybody, and this one, I know this one's used, the one up the hill is used. I guess the locals are coming through and making deposits in that one, but yeah, hopefully they won't be too weirded out. There's a couple of deer walking around that one this morning. Had the nice big buck, the nice big 150-pound buck, running around this morning, and I was going to get the camera set up, but she was running around the shoreline here, and I thought that would be a great shot. Try to get the camera set up on the tripod, and he saw me, and that's the first bolt reaction that I've seen out here. And he was just more like, hey, wrong way. He just kind of turned around and went back the other way, but it seemed a lot more familiar to me to see a deer bolt than, well, actually he didn't bolt immediately. He just stood there and watched me, and then he decided to bolt. Most deers that see me, at least in the south, at least out in the woods, they don't think twice. They're gone. They're just immediately. They may freeze to make sure that they saw me. Usually when they see me long before I see them, or hear me, whatever. But usually when I see deer, they're running the other direction. And to see deer go, that's unusual. Anyway, so I may actually wind up splitting this afternoon. It looks like it's clearing up this afternoon sometime. It may be a little bit late for me to break camp. The big news is, woke up this morning and I pulled up my dry bag and there's water underneath, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. But I've seen that before. Water getting into the tub, coming up from the bottom. It's just nylon. I mean, if you press on it, same with the nylon fly over your head, you press on that long enough, water will start dripping through it. But if you're sitting in a pool of water, anyway, well, yet another one of those reasons I don't like tent camping. It's been good till tonight, or till this morning. I don't know, kind of getting cramped rolling around. I don't know. That could be just me. I could be grumpy and cranky in a hammock in this weather. So, but yeah, I gotta save, make sure none of my stuff. So my sleeping blanket, the crucial, or my sleeping bag, I use it as a blanket a lot. My sleeping bag is dry because it's sitting on top of my ground pad, and underneath the ground pad, same thing. You know, it's pressing on that pool of water underneath, so it's just soaking up from below. A lot of people use ground sheets, ground pads. To me, that's just something else that's going to leak, so I haven't used those in forever. I don't know of anything that is waterproof, absolutely waterproof, when you're sitting in a bucket of water, especially when you're pushing on grass and rocks and stuff like that for an extended period of time. And I'm not going to spend another $100 on a ground sheet. So Tyvek, I think I tried to get a hold of a small sheet of Tyvek, but everybody's like, you know, full roll of Tyvek prices. Tyvek would probably be the best solution, but it never worked out, so I don't have any Tyvek. So hopefully when the wind dies down here shortly, I'll start making me some coffee, some breakfast, and then we'll see what the rest of the day has for us. So I'm bitching about everything in the tent being wet, which is not true. There's very little besides the tent that is wet this morning, but pretty much everything that's exposed out here on the stable is wet, with the exception of my firewood, my fuel for my stove, and this nice little seat, and a couple of things under the table. Everything else pretty much is wet. Welcome to cold winter hell. It's gonna be cold, looks like the rest of the week, but dry. So I think 30s to 50s up here, and then since I'm going south, it's probably going to be getting closer to 70, and I think mid 40s at night. As long as I got dry stuff to sleep in, I'm fine. That's important. Well, that rhythm, cooking on the firebox requires a certain rhythm. And the rhythm, the primary thing that you have to conquer is that timing. Keeping the fire going while cooking and chopping, like I would almost say it requires chopping before you get anything else done. But I mean, as long as you understand the rhythm, I think that's what I was trying to say, is that rhythm of, okay, you get 2.5 minutes here, and you got to go back, tend the fire, stir, add stuff. Yeah, depending on what I'm cooking, I have been known to chop almost everything up while it's cooking. Other things, it's easier to just prep before, but man, that's good. Sausage, mushrooms, eggs, and smoked Gouda. I think that's the one thing that will change your attitude really quickly is a good hot cup of coffee, or in my case, espresso. Coffee, hot cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and some delicious food. All of a sudden, my attitude is 180 degrees from what it was, and now my mind just, I'm in a much better place. It's actually not raining, but it's still cold and windy, and I have my first visitor behind me for the day. Tent camping. Only when I have to. So I'm rolling out for Possum Kingdom. 3 days in the rain. But man, if you gotta be stuck somewhere, that was pretty freaking epic. Hot showers, running water, those are huge. You know, if they had a lounge and a big screen TV, and anyway, I'm headed down 16 south towards Three Sisters and Fredericksburg. I don't know how far I'm going to make it tonight. It's late. It's almost 3 o'clock, so I'll get as far as I can get, find something comfy. It's probably going to be 43 tonight, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, heading that way. Nice overlook.
I'd like me a splash of whiskey to wash the trail dust off from the gullet and keep my singing voice in fit.
Whiskey's illegal.